Hello, Pirates. So we had recently some big changes in Forsaken Mission. The new targets 120, 121 have been introduced. The Greta's Inferno Dragon flagship as well. And in August, Kixai will be removing the 117. In September, they'll be removing the 112 and introducing some new intermediate target between the 111 and the 120. So I did a lot of testing this week. I tried a few refits, actually spent some coin trying different things, and I wanted to share with you so you can actually go straight for a good build and have something that works well. So let's chat a little bit about it. So first of all, I still prefer the short range version of the Inferno Dragon. So you're going to see both of my final contenders after a few tweaks here and there. Both have the lowered explosive mount as the first special. They also have the RFX engine. And why? Pretty much the extra 30% explosive and penetrative resistance from the LAM and the extra damage or reload from the RFX. I find that they are very effective, so I'm keeping them. I'm also keeping the high yield warhead as an older special. Works really well in conjunction with the warhead reloader. So these two together, and the HYW has extra building damage and projectile speed. So works really cool. And finally, Siege Battery 4. The reason I am not using the Garrison Battery MKX, it's because it's not compatible with some of my other special choices. So that left me with just one final test I wanted to have, comparing ablative armor versus the MX3. So MX3 versus AA3 at R15, both of them retrofitted to the max. In the end, what I found is these two builds, which if you look at them, they have the same amount of rockets, the same sprint, and just a tiny difference on the Gale because of weight. AA3 is heavier, so I could only use a Gale 1. Here I could use a Gale 2. With that setup, I'm also using the limited D6M armor from the last raid. If you don't have that, because it adds 1 second of repair time. And it pairs up really nicely with AA3 because this one's going to buff explosive resistance all the way up to 99%. But it leaves the missile resistance kind of exposed. So having this one, the D6M, adding 30% missile resistance, that's pretty much zero repair cost, made this setup more cost effective to repair. So both configurations actually take roughly the same amount of damage when playing the 121. I tried it multiple times, and per target the difference was about a minute. The AA3 version was taking a minute less damage per ship than the MX3 version. On the 120 though, the AA3 version saves 20% in repair time. So that's considerable. Every 40-minute repair I had on the AA3, I had 47 and change on the MX3. So if you do a whole bunch of and that's per target. So if you do a whole bunch of targets, that multiplies, and in the end, this guy here's overall better. So that's my choice, and we'll talk about them in more details just in a bit. For the Greta, so the Greta Inferno Dragon, as it has very good bonuses for countermeasures, anti-missiles and anti-mortars, I've loaded it up with 5 Gale 3s and 2 of that brand new MDS-3. If you don't have the MDS-3, because it was very limited availability during last raid, just use Phalanx 4. It's the closest you get to this one. Phalanx 4 or MDS-2 are very close. I still prefer Phalanx 4 for the resistance bonus. The accuracy is the same, the ranges are really close or the same, I don't remember. Anyways, and then just put one rocket. I'm using the recondite. It can be just another twin fire, it can be a D100S, doesn't really matter. Can even be, if you go way back, that Dragonfly rocket that gives plus 5% resistance. As long as they have the same range as the twin fire and are not too heavy or too long to build, any rocket will do. Some of the specials are the same, and some people are looking at this as, why didn't I use the frontline countermeasure system? And I'll explain. That's because the CML4, countermeasure loader 4, not only has better bonuses to the countermeasures, it also has reload affecting them, right? So these two specials together worked well. The other special I removed was the high yield warhead. I removed that one because I don't care about the rocket damage here, there's only one. And I put HVR, high velocity rounds, because they double the projectile speed of the countermeasures. So when you're fighting fast incoming mortars, this makes a good difference. I think overall that, the armor. So I did not see the need to put more armor than these two plates. I explained, these two plates will get you already to 98 point something% resistances on this setup. And when the other ships are taking like 40 minutes of damage, this one's taking 30, 25, something much lower than the other ones already. The only thing I did on those 3 empty slots, I actually just put D1X. It lowered damage a little bit and it adds very little repair, 4 minutes per plate or something like that, and very fast to install. Instead of 2 days installing more of these armors, D1X installs in just a couple hours. And that's my setup. I don't think you need 5 of these armors. It's only going to increase your repair time from 3 hours 40 to 4 hours and a half. So back to the regular dragons then, because the Greta is taking care of all the anti-missiles and anti-mortars and whatnot. These guys only have this one sprint. That's all. I actually only wanted one sprint per ship. The reason I kept the Gale is because the ship was too heavy. If I could, I would put another rocket in here. Maybe reduce armor and put another twin fire or D100S rocket. Since I couldn't, I just left the Gale 1 or 2 and sprint. As I already explained most of the specials, what I like about this build is the great building and wall damage. And even with that, it takes a while to take down the walls on the 120. It has good explosive damage overall, projectile speed, some splash bonus, and a lot of reload. These rockets, they reload every 4 seconds. When you're scolded every 1 second, so by having that extra reload there, you're guaranteed to be firing as fast as possible within the game. I love this number, 1 million damage here. When you're fighting the target though, it doesn't look like much. It takes a while to kill some things. But look at this, 99% plus explosive defense, 94% penetrating. Now remember, if you have the Greta Inferno Dragon, it adds 50% penetrative resistance to all ships. So let's say this is 94, then plus 50% is half of 6, so it goes to 97%. And I found that mix to be optimal. They will also gain some extra deflection from the flagship. So one thing I'm going to say, if you don't have the flagship and you want to run 5 regular Inferno Dragons, that this might not be the optimal choice. Maybe you're better off with the MX3. All right. Finally, about the 120. I tried multiple paths. I recorded them all, and the one I'm going to show in a few seconds was the best. That's the one that gets me consistently below 40 minutes of damage without any cruise. If you put cruise, if you drop pinch, actually brings you like to 30 minutes and below. Because this is the short range version, really hug the walls, hug the turrets, drive real close to everything so the ring of fire kills things fast. There's no point in trying to outrange anything. You won't. If you build the long range version, then you can outrange those tiny boats that spot for the mastodons. Otherwise, there's no point. But so this is more or less what I'm getting per level 120. 5 minutes, under 5 minutes on the flagship, so you can go back to base and insta repair every time. And for my preferred ships, about 8 minutes of repair, so times 4, 32 with 5, 37. Again, no crew, no rocket. Consistently. If I run that path you see in the video, it's always the kind of same damage I'm getting. And 600,000 points per 120. The 121 really pays the same thing, but it gives me more damage. So I'm sticking to the 120 overall. Okay, as I said, the 121 pays the same, deals more damage when I'm driving stacked. The Earth had a video on his YouTube channel showing the way he drives with long range Inferno Dragons. He uses the Greta flag ahead. So pretty much that ship concentrates all the damage, and the other ships are offset to the back. Takes more skill to drive. If you have the time, you have the skill, it's a great option. If you just want to stack and go, I'd say this build you see here is very convenient for that. Okay, so that's it. I'll leave you now with the video showing me doing a 120 for about 40 minutes of damage. See you next time, pirates. Take care.